Hey everyone, so I thought I'd give my hand in trying to help everyone overcome the fear of trying to incorporate NEARPOD in your classroom and give you a quick run through of how I take my simple Google Slides and make them into fun, collaborating lessons for the students to fully engage in and to give me data at the end of the day. So here's just something I put together this morning. We're reviewing how to multiply decimals next week. The slides are done. We all know how to do that part. So here comes bringing it into NEARPOD. So obviously go through your NEARPOD, log in through Google, and then start going to create. You'll have this brought up, and I know at the professional development, which was an incredibly good professional development, she mentioned NEARPODize. I don't use NEARPODize, and I don't fully understand the purpose of it. I just go to upload files, I click on my Google Drive, slowly that'll start coming up. I click on the lesson I'm wanting to incorporate, and I hit select. Now here you have an option between PDF viewer and slides. I always go slides, and the reason for this is it just matches the iPads better, the shape of the iPads, which I'm typically using over Chromebooks, but this is really your choice. Now this can take several moments, especially if you're on one of our lovely HP computers at school. I try to work mainly from my computer at home so it doesn't freeze on me constantly, but even here it takes a long time. You'll have NEARPOD people bother you daily. Every time I click on this, I seem to get more people. So now all we have is a super boring, not really fun or engaging lesson. All this would be, if the students did it now, is they would just see this on their iPad. They wouldn't have those fun open-ended questions. They wouldn't have a draw it or a collaborate. There would be no quiz at the end, none of that. So that's where you guys come in and you have to start adding those features. Now, there's a couple things I wish NEARPOD would add that they haven't yet. One of those being converting a slide straight to an open-ended question. You can see up here they have a draw it feature, but they haven't quite mastered making an open-ended one for converting. So what I have to do is I go to my PowerPoint. I go to the slides that I want to add as open-ended questions. Like here, I want to just test the water, see if my kids already know how to do this, how many of them already know how to do this, or if they're completely in left field. So to do this, I'm going to go to my Windows button down here, and I'm going to type in snip. This is just an app. All of our computers have it, and it lets you screenshot a small section of what you're working on currently. So we click new. You might have to click mode first. You can see the options here. I always go rectangular. I definitely can't do freeform. I'm not that good with my hands. And we screenshot it. Now you cannot just copy it. You might have used this feature before and just copied it to send this email to Crowley and complain that your smartboard's not working for the 100th time. We actually have to save it. So I right click and go to save as. Now you can see here I try to stay organized and keep these into a NEARPOD folder. This is what I suggest so that you can find these screenshots very easily. So as you see, I went through my pictures. I created a NEARPOD folder. I create folders within NEARPOD about the current lesson. So here we're going to right click, go to new folder. We'll type multiplying. And then we'll click on this folder. Now why I create folders every time is so that I don't have to keep coming up with different names for each screenshot we do. So I can just name this one 1. And why that's useful is because that's going to be the first slide that I have to integrate into my NEARPOD lesson as an open-ended question. So now I'm kind of going through and I'm looking at what else I need to convert. Here, the students will use draw it to add the decimal to where they need to have it, because hopefully all my kids already know how to divide. Again, we'll find out. So I'm going to open snip back up, press new, and snip this one. Now the PCs, even at school, when I hit save as again, are going to keep that folder up. So this is really nice. I'm just going to type 2. We minimize this and we go back to our lesson. So here again, I'm kind of testing the waters. I'm using this diagnostically to see, do they already know or remember about multiplying by powers of 10? And if you were to ask this question in class, you just put it on the board and say, hey, think about it. You'd have the same 3 kids over and over again answer this question. You would never hear from your kids in between. You would never hear from your kids at the back. And a lot of times, either they're not engaged or they're just sitting there waiting on Smarty Pants at the front to go ahead and give us all the answer. This puts the responsibility back on all of your students. So again, I want to bring up my snip tool. I want to convert this to an image so that we can later use it as an open-ended question. This way everybody has a chance to respond. And again, brings up my folder, and I'm just going to type 3. Alright, so we're nearly done. All we have here is I've created questions that we're going to use to create a quiz at the end of the lesson. And the purpose for the quiz is just as Miss Lessened, I believe was her name, said. That's so that you know who walks out of your classroom mastering the objective today, who didn't master it, and who's somewhere on the fence. This better prepares you to use your data, to conference with kids, and to go ahead and dot all your I's and cross your T's. So we got to screenshot all 3 of these, bringing snip back up. And we'll show you how to convert them to a quiz in a bit. Now for these, I typically will type Q1, and again, because that's for our quiz. So we'll screenshot our second one. Oh. Q2, and then we finally got a third one. Apparently Pop-Tarts is misspelled. Okay. Alright, so we are done with slides. We're done with snip. You can close out snip. You could even close out your slide. I wouldn't. I would just go back over here. So now we're going to look for the add slide ability. And you need to recall what you want to add first. This is why I would maybe not close this out. For example, the first interactive slide I have is here, where I want to test the water, see what they know. So this is going to be an open-ended question. So I will come over here, add slide, add activity, open-ended question. Now you have 2 ways of following this process. I typically open up the folder down here. This opens up all your files in your computer, all your documents, and I will go to the folder that we just created, multiplying decimals. And I just drag this over here. The reason for this is I find it easier to navigate because I'm just going to click on slide 1. I'm going to drag it. You see it says copy. We drop it. Now that slide will show up when the kids get this open-ended question. And typically, if I put the question on the slide for here, I just type read the slide to follow your directions. And it'll sometimes look like it's not loading. It's there. Alright, important to note, you can see that no matter what, it's going to insert it down here. So we need to find where that slide is. It's right here. We drag it to that spot, and now we no longer need this slide. So we click on it, we right click, and we press delete. So again, let's continue by adding more activities. But, well, see, maybe you forgot what's next. So you can come back over here. Okay, I don't need it for this one. Here I need it. Here we need to draw it. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add slide, add activity, and draw it. Same thing. See, you've already got this file pulled up, so you can just click on it. And the ease of access is just right there. We drag our second one to here. And what it does is this is now the background image that will come up. Your directions will be up here, but again, that takes room from the slide. So this is why I typically will put my directions on the slide itself. You have to type something though. They haven't changed that yet. So I'll just say read the slide. Again, it comes down to the end, so this is why I keep these slides up. I drag it to where it needs to be. I delete that previous one, and we're moving on. So here we can clearly see what my next one is. It's another open-ended question. So we go to add slide, add activity, open-ended question. Now I'm going to stop here and point something out that maybe some people might struggle with. You might be looking at these and your vision's not as wonderful and young as Mr. Crowley, so you're peering into your computer. You want these icons to be bigger. Really simple. We're going to right click, view, and we're going to do extra large icons. This is for my people that just need that. So now I can clearly see this is the slide I'm looking for, and this is also why I number them. Number 3. Again, read the slide and follow your directions. Now we just need to drag it in the correct spot, which is right behind our draw it. We delete this previous slide, and we're moving on. Now, all we technically have left to do is to create our independent practice at the end. So what I'm going to do here is I won't delete these yet, just for walking you through it slowly, but we will go to add slide now, and we add activity, and we click quiz. Now I won't talk much through this. It's pretty self-explanatory, and if you're following along with me, you're going to start picking things up pretty easily. So I come over, before I even start typing questions, I'm just going to drag this here. Now this is quiz 1, and in my notes that you guys can't see on my desk, I have the answers and the answer choices I'll be typing. But for here, for our question, I'm not going to waste my time retyping the question. Again, you guys want kids reading? Make them read. So they need to know they're answering the questions and they're only placing the decimal in the correct spot. Your kids will pick up very quickly that number 1 on NEARPOD relates to number 1 on the slide. This won't be something you have to explain more than once, I assure you. So you do have to number your questions. NEARPOD has not added a feature that numbers them automatically for you. So number 1. And I will just say place the decimal in the correct spot. Now down here, you have the option of doing A dot, B dot, C dot, D dot. I don't, because again, your kids are smart. They know first option is A, they know first option is B, and so on. But if you prefer, you are going to lose a little bit of time to that. So I'll just start typing my possible answers down here. Okay, we click our answer that is correct. I didn't type the correct answer, did I? Now here's why I use the pictures. We're going to make this much easier on ourselves when we create our next question. Instead of clicking add question, add answer, and dragging our picture back over, typing our question, typing our answers, we're not going to do that. We're going to hit duplicate. Here's the cool thing about duplicate. Everything's duplicated. I've got my 4 answer choices automatically. I've got my picture inserted automatically. And all I need to do for this one here is say 2. Down here, I need to correct my answers, right? I have the complete wrong answers for this one, excuse me. Don't know what I was going off of there. So again, I'm just going to come down here, type my answers. Again, we're going to hit duplicate. And we'll do this for these first 4 questions because that's how many this picture uses. I have a really bad habit of putting B as a lot of the answer choices, so I'm going to drag that one down. And again, we duplicate. Be sure to change your number. The kids will call you out nearly immediately. And we start going. I like to scroll up every now and then, make sure I'm hitting a correct answer, not hitting more than one. You don't want to skew your data in the wrong direction. Now here, I typically will still click duplicate question. We're done with that picture, but I'll still click duplicate because I'm going to save a lot of time by having all four choices and already having a question entered, even if my question changes. So to change this picture, we're just going to click delete. We open that lovely file back up, we drag Q2 over, and now we have our new questions, and I'll just enter my possible answers. It occurred to me I have to change some stuff up or they'll continue just placing the decimal in the correct spot. Sorry. Alright, and again, duplicate, change this to number 6. You can always open that back up to see what you typed if you've forgotten. And again, scrolling up, making sure I have all my answers. See, I missed one up here. We should have B. Again, you could add a new question. I'm just going to duplicate and do what we've been doing. Do need to change these. I should have noticed that sooner. To solve. Alright. So again, don't forget to delete your picture when you're coming down to a new question. And guys, you don't have to even have pictures. I could have entered all of these in through the feature up here. I just typically I get into a habit when I'm on this. I like to stay on this, and I go. And it's easier for me to format things if I ever need to make fractions. Or for example here, if I would have typed into NEARPOD, it might have had this as line 1 and then spaced it this way. And I wouldn't want that to happen. That's going to make it a little more challenging, and not in like a fun, rigorous way, but just in an annoying way for the kids. So I come down, back at number 9, we've got solve. I need to pull up that file one more time and drag Q3 over to it. So we got a pretty simple problem here. It's early in the morning here, so I am going to pull out my calculator. Alright. Be sure to Keep up with your units, all my math people. Alright. And again, we're done with that one. We go to duplicate. We got one more, number 10. Alright, and I am done. Now I'll press save. Now if you forgot at any point to type a question, you left a multiple choice answer blank, or you didn't click a correct answer, like let's do that here. When you press save, it'll freak out on you, right? It'll tell you, no, 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 you got to go back. And so we just go back and we look and we make sure we clicked an answer choice. Now I've got one more thing I like to do in addition to creating the first 5, but you guys can just create that on your board, or you can use the quiz feature to do that as well. I like to have an exit slide, and this is just a preference, and I'll just use one from a previous lesson, right? And this is just to remind your kids, as exciting as today was, as great of a teacher as you were, they need to press exit, right? And that's what I mean by here, not actually physically walk up and leave my classroom before I'm ready. There's an exit button up here for NEARPOD. They click it, they click exit. And if they don't do that, right, the next person coming in is going to be a little confused. They might even be able to have access to the independent practice and so on. So I just have a slide like this. And I'll have to snip this one because if I upload all the Google Slides again, I'll have to delete all the extra ones. And again, we'll just leave it in that multiplying decimals and we'll label it 4. So I'm coming back. Where'd I go? Oh. When I'm coming back to NEARPOD, I'm just going to hit add slide this time, add content, because we haven't done that yet. And you got some crazy stuff here. I like to use slideshow if they're taking notes because that can be self-paced. I haven't done field trip obviously, and I'm not quite sure what sway is, but slide is very much what you would expect it to be. We don't need a title here, we don't need any text here, we're just going to add that image. Again, because we have our lovely folder open, we just get to drag and drop. I'm going to delete the title and save. And that's at the end, that's right where we need it to be. So the only thing I would add to this is I would add a first 5 here. And I like to do that, just saves me some paper, saves me some time, and I also get feedback instantly. But we're going to stop there. I'm going to take a break. We hit save and exit. Before you can save a lesson, it's going to force you to title it. And it's going to force you to give it some labels. This is so if people are out there and they're searching for a multiplying decimal lesson that has a bunch of Mr. Lane bitmojis all over it, they can find it pretty easily by tagging it with 5th and 6th grade and with math. We press save and exit. And here it is. It's in our library. And we'll go ahead and add this one to the school library if you guys want to check it out. Alright, that's it. I'm going to pull this back up. I think I covered everything, and I might have taken a little too long to do it. If you have any questions, email me, bother Crowley, do what you need to do, and start trying to implement this. It's honestly been a game changer. Hope you guys enjoyed.